welcome back. Before I get into the goings-on at the Capitol last night, I thought I would just describe for you, in case you haven't been to the Capitol ever or this past year. It's an interesting place right now. We're under construction. Last night was the last floor session to be held in the old Capitol. The new Capitol, with all its renovations and splendor, will open up in a couple of years. End of session is always fascinating, and this year was no exception. We had a barbershop quartet of staff members singing in the halls. It was quite beautiful. And along with that music was the music from our Hispanic community, who was camped out for days. And there were beautiful headwear and costumes, native costumes, as they lobbied and shared their desires for a driver's license. And unfortunately, they didn't get that vote on the House floor, and it didn't pass. The lighting in the halls at the Capitol is calming, and it does belie the excitement that happens on the House and Senate floor. But if you walk the halls in between bills or as we wait, it's a wonderful light and ambiance. People talking, deals being made, just a really warm and soft look that's really something to behold. Also in the hallway are lobbyists and citizens advocating for amendments and their hopes and dreams being dashed or celebrated, depending on what happens in each of the bodies. One of the things that many of us do is watch the other body during our floor sessions, and last night Dean Erdahl was seen watching intently the debate on the Senate floor in hopes that his legacy bill would pass. Unfortunately, it fell at the end of the session, kind of rush that happens, and that bill was not taken up and passed in the Senate. As I mentioned, there's a lot of construction going on at the Capitol, and as happens often at the end of session, is tours are given. This year the tour is a little different because folks were walking around in hard hats, getting a behind-the-scenes look at what happens in the construction, getting a little view of what's to come for the next year or two as those renovations are completed. Well, I'm here just about 13 hours or 14 hours after the close of session, which occurred at midnight last night. We had a rather exciting, if not somewhat confusing, end to the session. At just moments before midnight, a bill that no one had seen or heard showed up on the House floor, and it was a jobs bill, which was interesting because I served on the Jobs Conference Committee. This bill did not come out of the Conference Committee, but in fact arrived from the Senate without any vetting and was moved on the House floor with absolutely no discussion, questions, or opportunity for amendments by the House. Very interesting and concerning end to session, but not unusual in the light of partisanship up here at the Capitol in my time, the last 9 years here serving and representing you in St. Paul. So what do we have? We have an overall budget that's a little murky. We have an E-12 bill, for instance, that the governor said he would veto, and instead of going back to the table and compromising, the bill that he said he would veto was handed to him, passed in the House and Senate. And this morning at a press conference, Governor Dayton once again reiterated his intent to veto, and in fact, we have a letter from the governor with his veto message in it. So that is a foregone conclusion. Now it's just a matter of finding out if the E-12 bill is the only concerning bill that the governor will want to veto. He may want to veto that jobs bill that was concerning, that passed at the last seconds of the session. And there are other bills, of course, that have concerning components. So we're going to have to wait for another day or two to see what the governor does, but there's also an assurance now of a special session. And so rather than vetoing the bills, what the governor could insist on is changes to those bills that we just passed as part of the special session. And that way other departments aren't shut down and at risk. So it'll be an interesting few weeks. We have been sent home. And after that time at home for a few weeks for contemplation and some negotiations with the governor and House and Senate leadership, we'll come back here, hopefully before that July 1st time when layoffs occur in the education field, education department. We'll come back here and hopefully have better news for the folks in the state of Minnesota, and especially, as you've heard, our K-12 students and earliest learners. So that's a quick wrap-up of what happened last night. Overall, no transportation bill, no tax bill, lights on bills in most of the other departments, but that's what we have until the special session allows us to clean up this mess. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time.